The seam heads that bleed orange and black. This is Sports Phone KNBR. Sponsored by Industrial Metal Supply on the Sports Leader. Check the live stream on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
We are back. What's going on, folks? Kerry Crowley hanging out with you for a very abbreviated Sports Phone KNBR. This show is presented by Industrial Metal Supply, online at industrialmetalsupply.com. It's metal made easy. Thanks to everyone who's tuned into the Leader this evening. If you just missed it, the Detroit Lions win a thriller over the Green Bay Packers, 34-31. Dan Campbell biting kneecaps and going for it on fourth down. What a game, what a show, and what a team the Detroit Lions are. Really puts into context how much different this season has gone for the San Francisco 49ers than last season did, as they took down a very similar Lions squad in the NFC title game last year in thrilling fashion. This year, the 49ers have been blown out back-to-back games. They've got an opportunity to try and get back into this NFC West race on Sunday against the lowly Chicago Bears. But right now, folks, there's not much belief and not much reason for optimism. We'll talk about that on the other side. We'll get into some interesting Giants news that dropped tonight, courtesy of Ken Rosenthal in The Athletic, about Matt Chapman, a concession that he's willing to make if the Giants are going to add to their roster. And we will set it up on a tee for John Dickinson, as he'll take you the rest of the way this evening once the Warriors and the Rockets finish up this evening. I'm Kerry Crowley. The show Sports Zone KNBR. We will be right back here on the Sports Leader.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sports Phone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Hatton to snap it. Fox the holder. Jake Bates, rookie kicker. The approach, sweeps the leg, kick on the way. He's got it! The Lions win! It is a new franchise record. 11 straight victories for the Detroit Lions. They outlast the Packers 34-31.
Welcome back. Kerry Crowley hanging out with you. Abbreviated version of Sports Phone KNBR tonight as we're teeing things up for John Dickinson and Dubs OT whenever the Warriors and the Rockets finish up over at Chase Center. JD will be here to take you the rest of the evening. But for now, recapping Thursday Night Football, reacting to the Detroit Lions and their success and kind of putting it in juxtaposition with the San Francisco 49ers and all the struggles that this organization has had this season. Hope to touch on some San Francisco Giants news as well. But that highlight that you just heard, the Jake Bates game-winning field goal, it's one that will be discussed a lot this season. A lot the rest of the way for the Detroit Lions if they go on a deep postseason run, if they make the Super Bowl, and they look entirely capable of doing so. And it's not going to be discussed for the distance or anything like that. But the mere fact that the Detroit Lions, on fourth down, in a situation where I would say probably 90 to 95% of coaches in the NFL, 43 seconds, fourth and inches at the Green Bay 21-yard line, 95% of coaches would have kicked a field goal in that situation and given the ball back to Green Bay, put their defense back on the field, and hoped for the best. Dan Campbell didn't do that. The head coach of the Detroit Lions, who cost his team with some perplexing fourth down decisions in the NFC title game last season that gave the 49ers momentum that they needed to win that football game, to come all the way back and to make the stands that they needed. Dan Campbell, he continues to be the most aggressive coach in the NFL. This is a coach who earlier in the evening tonight went for it on fourth down from his own 30-yard line, didn't get it, and set Green Bay up for an easy scoring drive. And yet he was not deterred. 4th and 1, Green Bay 21-yard line, 43 seconds. He sends David Montgomery over right tackle, and the Lions convert. 7-yard run. Jared Goff fell down. He tripped over a tight end in motion, was still able to get the handoff off to David Montgomery on the right side of that offensive line. Blocking led by Penei Sewell, who might be the best offensive lineman in the NFL at the moment. They converted. It reminded me so much of the last few seasons When the 49ers needed yards, when it was 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, you could reliably line up and just go behind Trent Williams. You could reliably line up and just say, hey, Christian, we're putting you behind Trent. We're going to have George Kittle on that side as well, and we're going to run over left tackle, and you're going to get those yards. It is not even in question. That's the type of confidence the Detroit Lions are playing with right now, and that is the type of confidence that's been lacking from the 49ers all season long. Detroit has won 11 in a row. It feels like a team of destiny. Believe me, the Green Bay Packers at 9-4 are an incredibly impressive team. 49ers saw that firsthand at Lambeau a few weeks ago, and yes, I know it was a Brandon Allen game, and I know the 49ers are a shell of their former selves right now, but the Packers are good. Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, that young receiving core, it's a good group. And I believe in that defense. I think that it can get pressure. Saw it tonight against Jared Goff a number of times. They were in his face. And yet, the Bay Area kid, the Lions quarterback, was undeterred, especially in the second half. He completed his final 13 passes tonight. And this is a Lions team that has plenty of talent. But one of the reasons I really believe they can make it through a gauntlet of an NFC right now at the top, where the Vikings are still looming. That's why the Lions haven't clinched their division, where the Eagles continue to look better and better. Vic Fangio's defense might be the best in the NFC right now. Saquon Barkley, an MVP candidate. Everyone's on the Eagles hype train at the moment. But one of the reasons I like the Lions is because they're doing something different. When you get into a matchup in the Super Bowl against an AFC team with an all-time quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, or an AFC team with a superstar quarterback like a Josh Allen, you can't leave the game in those quarterbacks' hands. And Jordan Love isn't on their level. Brock Purdy isn't on their level. Joe Burrow probably isn't even on their level right now. But Dan Campbell tonight, 4th and 1 from the 21-yard line, he knew that the Lions took a 3-point lead with about 40 seconds to go. Jordan Love would have a chance. And that was not a chance that he was willing to take. So he went for it on 4th down, and he put the game in the hands of his offense. The players and the people and the scheme that he trusts. And it's something that for years 49ers fans have wished that Kyle Shanahan would do more of. They wished that in the Super Bowl, the 49ers had prevented Patrick Mahomes from getting the ball with an opportunity to win that football game. The 49ers had just driven down, scored a touchdown, been aggressive and going for it in 4th down situations in overtime. And that game could have turned out differently. That other years could have turned out differently under Kyle and the 49ers if they had that aggressive mentality and they fully trusted the 11 players on offense who got them to this point. And that's what strikes me as so different about the Detroit Lions. Yes, they have the talent, but plenty of other teams do too. It's their bold, aggressive nature that I think can take them over the top against a Kansas City Chiefs team led by Patrick Mahomes. Well, you can't have the ball in his hands under 2 minutes to go. I don't care if you have 2 seconds to go. Buffalo Bills have found that out the hard way in AFC title games. You can't give the ball to Josh Allen. 49ers saw last week how good and how talented he is. He's only taking steps forward. To win a Super Bowl from the NFC, you're going to have to beat an elite quarterback, and that means keeping the ball out of their hands as much as possible. And to do that, you keep possession, you go for it on 4th down. That's why I love the Lions style, and that, to me, is what's a difference maker for Detroit right now. So we'll do more of this. We'll talk more 49ers this evening. JD will be on in a few minutes to talk Golden State Warriors. On the other side, I want to do a quick note on the San Francisco Giants and some news that dropped this evening. It's an abbreviated sports phone. We really don't have time for calls. If you want to get one in, 415-808-KNBR is the number. You got some texts. I'll read them on the other side as well. We're really just passing the baton here at KNBR. John Dickinson will be with you shortly. Warriors trying to end this 5-game losing streak out at Chase Center. No Steph Curry, no Draymond Green tonight. John Dickinson will be here shortly to wrap things up once that game goes final. I'm Kerry Crowley. You're listening to KNBR, the sports leader.
This is where we feed the faithful. Sports Phone, KNBR. Streaming live at twitch.tv/the Sports Leader.
I think so. I think he can be really good at it too.
Ooh.
I mean, I don't think there's many better baseball minds in the entire game. So, I mean, he has better feel than anybody I've played with, I think, for the game of baseball. So, I think it's just probably a matter of getting his feet wet a little bit, and on the front office side of things, and scouting players and stuff like that. Obviously, that's all that kind of stuff is going to be new to him. And but as far as a feel for the game, for the clubhouse, what it's supposed to look like, I mean, he's going to know better than anybody.
That was former Giants shortstop Brandon Crawford on with Murph and Marcus this morning on the morning show. Crawford doing his first big interview since retirement here with KNBR, and talking about his friend and former teammate Buster Posey taking over as the Giants president of baseball operations. It's been the dominant story for the Giants for the better part of the last month, and for good reason. It was shocking news to so many when Buster came in and replaced Farhan Zaidi as the president of baseball operations, getting the 3-year deal, and the fact that he's just 3 years removed from his legendary playing career, not even eligible for the Hall of Fame ballot yet. And he is already in the high-ranking front office position in the mix in San Francisco and trying to get this Giants organization back on track. Kerry Crowley hanging out with you here on Sports Phone KNBR. We've got a very brief show tonight as John Dickinson and Greg Silver will be here for Dubs OT very shortly once the Warriors and the Rockets wrap things up over at Chase Center. But I thought it was interesting that Crawford was on this morning and talking about Buster Posey, and we got a tidbit of news this afternoon from Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic. Published an article this evening about Matt Chapman and the Giants' infield situation. And Chapman was on KNBR last night talking about the 5th Gold Glove that he won at the third base position. He was on our Hot Stove show previewing the Giants season. And today, Ken puts out the news that Chapman would be open if the Giants were to sign Ha-Seong Kim to moving to shortstop temporarily. So let me break this down for you real quick. You've got a 5-time Gold Glove Award winner open to a temporary position move if the Giants are going to sign a player coming off of a significant shoulder injury with the San Diego Padres. It would probably be a short-term deal. Matt Chapman's going to be in San Francisco 6 years. He signed that $151 million pact in the month of September, chose to forego free agency. He's the face of the franchise. He's an anchor moving forward for this team. And he, according to Rosenthal, is open to the idea of playing a little shortstop at the beginning of next season, something he did very early in his career with the Oakland A's. He's got some limited experience at the position. In a pinch, he's played it, but third base is obviously the spot that you want Chapman. And the reason that he'd be open to it is because Ha-Seong Kim won't be ready for opening day. And so Chapman would essentially allow the Giants to plug the biggest hole on the infield until Ha-Seong Kim is ready to go. And again, this is all still a hypothetical. Giants would have to sign Kim, and he'd have to get himself in position to play shortstop by, who knows, maybe 2 weeks into the season, 4 weeks into the season. I don't know what the recovery from that injury is going to look like because, again, he's not a member of the San Francisco Giants yet. But in Rosenthal's article, he said, Casey Schmidt could man third base. Tyler Fitzgerald could be a candidate to play that position. David Villar could be in the mix for the San Francisco Giants. So I just find it very interesting that one of the first potential shakeups for the Giants is Chapman offering, apparently, to play out of position if it benefits the team and makes a move that would make the Giants better in the long run some sense. So there you have it. That was Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic, and it was this hypothetical. And I think we've all understood this offseason that the Giants have been linked to Ha-Seong Kim, and it makes sense for a number of reasons. Very close friends with Jung-Hoo Lee, who, of course, signed the big $113 million contract last season and had high hopes for him before that big shoulder injury kept him out for most of the season. He played for Bob Melvin down in San Diego. He credits Bob Melvin for a lot of his major league success. He was the one who gave him the chance to thrive in that Padres infield. By the way, not an easy infield to thrive in. When Ha-Seong Kim came over to the United States and was playing Major League Baseball for the first time. You had Manny Machado over at third base. Fernando Tatis was still the shortstop. You had a second baseman in Jake Cronenworth and a first baseman at the time in Eric Hosmer. There was no obvious place for Kim to be in the lineup, but a variety of injuries, and you had the Tatis suspension, the ultimate move to the outfield. Just various things came up in San Diego. Kim got his opportunity under Bob Melvin, who, by the way, has done tremendous work in his 20-plus year Major League career, helping players from both Latin America and the Pacific Rim, Asia, Japan, South Korea, come over to the United States and make that transition successfully to Major League Baseball. He played a leading role in helping Ichiro do it with the Seattle Mariners, and he's done it for a wide variety of players. He's also been lauded for his ability to bring players up from AAA to the big leagues, help them fight through their early struggles. Marcus Semien, of course, someone who struggled early after a trade from the Chicago White Sox with the Oakland A's. He credits Bob Melvin for a lot of his success in sticking with him. The Giants are going to need a much better season out of Melvin, the manager, next year. No doubt in my mind, because they did not have enough young players this year making a difference, making it look easy to go from AAA to the big leagues. And I think that it wore on Melvin. It was very clear. If you read Andrew Baggerly, great Giants beat writer for The Athletic, he had a great interview with Melvin at the end of the season where the Giants manager essentially said, coming back to the Bay Area, coming back home and managing the team that he grew up rooting for, a team that he played for, a team that he loved so dearly, and struggling the way the Giants did this season, it was one of the most painful experiences of his Major League career to date. And that's a long and impressive Major League career for Bob Melvin. And so I think that the Giants need to shake things up. Said this last night during the hot stove. I'll say it again this evening, and I'll keep pounding the table this offseason. How significant those changes are, that's for Buster Posey to determine. And I will also note that the Giants aren't going to close this enormous gap with the Los Angeles Dodgers in the span of a year or two. They are not going to go from a team that's middling in the NL West, hoping to win 84, 85 games on an annual basis, to suddenly competing with the Dodgers in the 105, 110 win range. Because realistically, after signing Blake Snell, after adding Yoshinobu Yamamoto last offseason with the way that Ohtani and Freeman and Betts look locked in at the top of that lineup for a while, Dodgers are going to continue to be triple-digit winners for a long time. The challenge for the Giants is fielding a team that can compete with the San Diego Padres. That is, in my opinion, the chief issue at hand for this San Francisco Giants team. You've got one team in the Dodgers that right now playing in a completely different stratosphere. You're not going to catch them in the regular season. But you've got to be able to catch up to the Padres and the Diamondbacks in the NL West. It starts with the farm system. It starts with first-round draft picks. It starts with international free agents, 16, 17-year-old kids coming over to the United States, signing those players, and player development. It's how the Giants got good, and it's how they will be good sustainably in the long term. And so while we can talk about the merits of a Ha-Seong Kim addition versus a Willy Adames addition, a Corbin Burns signing at the front end of the rotation versus, someone you bring in for 1 year like a Lance Lynn, in the long run, the Giants are going to need their young talent, their drafted and developed talent to lead the way. They'll have a Logan Webb here for the next 5 seasons. They'll have a Matt Chapman here for the next 6 seasons. But if this organization is going to eventually close that gigantic gulf between them and their bitter rivals down south, it is going to take 4, 5, 6 years. It is going to take sustainable winning, and sustainable winning comes through developing a better farm system. You can only sign so many free agents. The budget is only so big until you're really good. I mean, the Dodgers are operating in a completely different stratosphere right now than every other team in Major League Baseball. And the Giants know that. The Padres know that. The Diamondbacks know that. The Rockies are even aware of that, even though I don't think the Rockies are aware of a whole lot of what goes on in the National League West. But it's imperative, it's pivotal for the Giants to find a way to claw back in. And so we can sit here and say, is it a good idea for Matt Chapman to play 20, 25 games at the shortstop position while Ha-Seong Kim gets healthy, if they chose to sign Ha-Seong Kim? Or should the Giants be in the big ticket free agent market right now for Willy Adames? I'm telling you that regardless of whether they sign 1 or both of those players, or don't sign either of those players. That is not going to be the difference between the Giants competing for a World Series title in 3-4 seasons versus the Giants being right where they are right now. Not one player is going to do it. It's not two players that are going to do it. It is the players who you don't know about. It's players who are entering their senior year of high school. It's players who are entering their junior year of college. It is nailing the draft picks. It's nailing the kids that you go after in the Dominican Republic and Venezuela and Colombia and the international signings from Japan and South Korea. This Jung-Hoo Lee signing the Giants had, that is going to be a big difference maker for this team if he turns out to be really good. When we come back, we'll be passing things off to John Dickinson shortly. Warriors trying to put the finishing touches on what is hopefully a win for this team. They've lost 5 in a row. Houston Rockets in town. No Steph Curry tonight. No Draymond Green tonight. They're hoping that they can close this one out. When we come back, we pass the baton on to John Dickinson and Greg Silver for Dubs OT. I'm Kerry Crowley. You're listening to Sports on KNBR here on KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.
Dub Nation, dial the digits and dive in. 415-808-KNBR. Sports Phone KNBR continues right here and on the all-new KNBR app.
Back here on Sports Phone KNBR, Kerry Crowley preparing to pass things off to your guys, John Dickinson and Greg Silver. JD will have the whole show this evening for Dubs OT. Greg will join him momentarily. And folks, if you told me that the Warriors would be in the midst of a 5-game losing streak and they'd have no Steph Curry, no Draymond Green, and they'd be taking on one of the NBA's best teams, one of the biggest surprises of the early portion of this regular season, and they'd end their losing streak, I'd have some eyebrows raised. I'd be pretty shocked, and yet that's exactly what they did this evening. No Curry, no Draymond, and they take down the Houston Rockets 99-93. It was Jonathan Kuminga leading the way, scoring a third of the Dubs' points tonight. 33 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, goes 13 of 22 from the field, 3 of 6 from beyond the arc to pace the Warriors. The only other player in double figures tonight for Golden State, Andrew Wiggins, who pours in 23, adds 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block as well. So as we prepare to pass things off, we'll look at scores from around the NBA this evening. Cleveland Cavaliers took down the Denver Nuggets 126-114. Nikola Jokic had a triple-double in that game, giving him the third most all-time in NBA history. Dallas took down Washington 137-101 this evening. The New York Knicks beat the Charlotte Hornets 125-101 tonight. Oklahoma City Thunder continued its strong start to the season with a 129-92 rout of the Toronto Raptors. The Memphis Grizzlies take care of business at home against the Sacramento Kings. Memphis with some good young rookies on that team. They win 115-110. The Pelicans finally get a win. They steal one from the Phoenix Suns in close fashion this evening, 126-124. A few other scores around the NBA to tell you about. Actually, just one score. It's the Chicago Bulls winning 139-124 over the San Antonio Spurs. So the Warriors get a big win. They are back on track, and we'll have our guys here to tell you about it momentarily. As soon as they are set up this evening, we will pass things off. But a much-needed win, to say the least, for this Golden State Warriors team. 5 consecutive losses. They were reeling, and they go into this game without 2 of their best players. Draymond Green, they do get some good news on him. He's expected to be healthy and ready to go very soon for this Golden State team. But they have a quick turnaround here. They play the Minnesota Timberwolves tomorrow evening at home. Then they get the Timberwolves again on Sunday at home. So kind of a 2-game set here with the Wolves. And then they're on the road next week in Houston against the Rockets. So 4 games, 2 teams. And they started off a very difficult stretch of play with an important win. The stretch doesn't get any easier, though. Then they're on the road at Memphis, on the road at Minnesota for the 3rd time that they face the Timberwolves in the month of December. They've got the Pacers, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Phoenix Suns, and the Cavaliers to round out a gauntlet in the month of December. Like we mentioned with the Cavaliers, they won earlier tonight. Cleveland improving to 20-3 on the season. Really one of the great stories, and you have to credit former Warriors assistant Kenny Atkinson with the way that he's turned around the Cavaliers so far this season. They got some big production tonight from, no surprise, Donovan Mitchell, who led the way with 28, Darius Garland 24 in that win over Jokic and the Nuggets. How about Jokic? Had a season high with 20 rebounds tonight for Denver, 27 points as well, and then threw in 11 assists there. So he finishes, of course, the evening with his 139th triple-double, which broke a tie with Magic Johnson for the 3rd most in NBA history. So more history on the way for Nikola Jokic, and just well-deserved. He now stands behind Oscar Robertson, and guess what? One of his teammates, Russell Westbrook, who has the most triple-doubles in NBA history with 200. Oscar Robertson, 181, and Jokic turned in his 139th tonight. So fully anticipate by the end of his career, he will have all of those numbers racked up, and he will be the sole leader, because it seems like he is in triple-double contention on a nightly basis. A few more scores to tell you about in terms of the Warriors tonight from this box score. You had a ton of minutes tonight for Andrew Wiggins, 34. Jonathan Kuminga followed with 33. Those were the two catalysts for this Warriors team. Buddy Hield and Brandon Podziemski, part of the starting lineup tonight, with, of course, Steph Curry out, Melton out for the season, so the Warriors needed to see some more production from the backup guards. Podziemski was a plus 13 in his minutes, Hield a plus 18 in his minutes. Both of them struggled from beyond the arc. Podziemski attempted just 3 shots, went 1 of 3. Hield went 1 of 6 from three-point land, but they still found other ways to contribute. Hield had 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Podziemski with 12 boards tonight. The Warriors could use that energy. They could use that enthusiasm attacking the glass from the guard position. Other Warriors to tell you about off of the bench this evening. Trace Jackson-Davis had 6 points. Struggled. He was a minus 17 on the floor as some of the Rockets subs took advantage of the Warriors tonight. Kyle Anderson, slow-mo, 8 points. Contributed nice rebounds as well. And Gary Payton II, he goes for 6 points and 6 rebounds in this game. Moses Moody, 6 points as well. Pat Spencer came off the bench. Didn't register much in terms of the stat line, but always like pointing out the former lacrosse player when he does get into a game for the Golden State Warriors. For the Houston Rockets, it was Sengun who led the way with 16 points. You had Dylan Brooks, 15, Jalen Green, 14, and Fred VanVleet contributing 13 points. The Rockets, meanwhile, fall to 15-8 on the season, 6-5 on the road. The Warriors now improve to 13-8, 6-3 at home. So for the Warriors, it was a much-needed win. Steve Kerr likely headed to the podium soon. I'm sure that JD will be breaking things down in terms of what the Warriors head coach has to say this evening, and excited to hear Greg on as well. By the way, you haven't heard the new show on KNBR, Love and Me, some Greg and Greg, Silver and Papa, midday. Really nice work from Greg Silver, who, of course, you guys, anyone tuning in right now has heard Greg's voice for a long time now. So looking forward to the upcoming show that we've got here for you momentarily with Dubs OT. Kerry Crowley hanging out with you, our producer Kyle Haar doing a nice job behind the scenes. And with that, I will sign off. John Dickinson is here to take things over with Dubs OT. Warriors win it 99-93 over the Houston Rockets, improved to 13-8 on the season. You're listening. KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.